I'm Sherry Methvin, a realtor with Modern Abode Realty in Edmond, Oklahoma and the Oklahoma City area. In this series, we're looking at key parts of buying a home and giving you practical tips. Buying a home is a big investment, and I want to make sure the process feels both easy and rewarding. Today, we're looking at how to best tackle repairs during the buying process. Let's get started. So at this point, you have an inspection report, and that inspection report may be lengthy. It'll have a whole bunch of explanations of the different systems in the house, maybe how old things are, whether they're working or not, all of that. And then from there, what you're going to want to do is narrow down that report and ask the seller to do some of those things. And from here on out of this video, you may hear me talk about a report that you put those list of items on, and in Oklahoma, it's called a Treatments, Repairs, and Replacements Report, or TRR, you may hear me say. I always like to tell my buyers that a couple of things. The seller is highly unlikely to fix everything on a report. So we're going to be narrowing down that list and picking the things that are of most importance to you as the buyer to have fixed on the home. Also, I always like to say too that no home is perfect. If you buy a 50-year-old home, it's going to have some things that aren't quite right. You're just going to have to expect that. Also, even a brand new home won't be perfect because it's built by humans who are imperfect. So no home is perfect. There's always going to be something, but it may not be anything that's super important. I always like to tell everybody about the story when we bought our house. I think we bought it 25 years ago. And when we bought it, I think we bought it as is because I don't remember negotiating any repairs. And we bought it. It had this big long list of things that were wrong with it. Nothing was major. So we moved in. I remember for a long time seeing this crack above one of my doors in my living room, and it was there for years. But over time, we've replaced a lot of things. We've done a lot of remodeling in the house, and we've probably fixed all those things. But just to say that not everything has to be fixed, because there's some things that may be on the report that aren't that big of a deal. So since the seller is unlikely to fix everything on the report, you're going to want to narrow that down. So here are some things that I like to suggest. One of them is if there's anything major in the home, like a major system, the HVAC or heat and air system, if something's wrong with that, if there's something wrong with the roof, the water heater, the structure of the home, a major electrical issue, a major plumbing issue, those kinds of things you likely want to ask the seller to fix, at least in my opinion. Next, you'll want to consider repairs that could be covered by the seller's insurance. So if it's a roof issue, that could be covered by the seller's insurance. That's something that wouldn't cost the seller as much money, and they could get the roof replaced and you would have a new roof. Another thing to think about too is I always say group things by trade. So if there's a whole bunch of electrical things, for example, and a whole bunch of plumbing things, for example, then ask the seller to fix all of the electrical things. And maybe when you move in, you might be able to address the plumbing things. And also just by hiring one of the trades, it makes it a little less expensive for the seller, and it might be more agreeable to them. Another thing to think about is items on the report that you can't fix yourself or don't want to fix yourself. So those are good to think about as well. And I always tell my buyers, no house is going to be perfect. Once you move in the house, hire a handyman and have them come fix the rest of the items that weren't addressed by the seller. Another option that's available is to ask the seller for a credit in lieu of repairs. This is when the seller can offer you money toward your closing costs, additional maybe money toward your closing costs, or a reduction in the price of the home so that you can get those things fixed yourself. And it may work out best, not in all situations, it may work out best if the seller doesn't want to fix anything, if they're out of town and they don't have anybody to fix things in town, or if you guys can't agree on what needs to be fixed. So there's some situations where that's good, and some situations where I wouldn't recommend that at all. It kind of depends on what you're asking them to fix or what needs to be fixed on the house. And in this case, depending on how you structure it, they won't fix that thing. They'll just give you the money in lieu of that repair. So when you're talking about repairs, here's the importance of working with an agent. An agent can guide you on prioritizing repairs. They can probably give you a feel for this is more expensive than that. They can give you names of people to even talk to before you make decisions about what to ask the seller to fix. Also, they've got a lot of experience navigating this process effectively. This can be one of the hardest parts of the process, is asking the seller to fix things when they don't really want to be fixing them. They might have worked well for them and they didn't have any problem with them. So this is probably one of the most difficult parts, and a great time to rely on your agent to give you some suggestions and some direction along the way. One thing to note on the Oklahoma contract, if you get this report back and you do not like the things on the report, you can cancel the contract and get your earnest money back. It says that if, in the sole opinion of the buyer, the results of the investigations, inspections, and reviews are unsatisfactory, you can cancel the contract and get your earnest money back. So that is an option. Otherwise, we'll proceed forward and put together a report called Treatments, Repairs, and Replacements Report. And if at any point you and the seller can't come to a conclusion on the repairs, you can also cancel the contract and get your earnest money back. But we're proceeding forward in good faith and looking forward to closing on the home. If I can help you out with your home purchase in the Oklahoma City area, I'd love to do so. If you like what you learned, please like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Sherry Sells Homes with no spaces, and my Facebook page, Sherry Methvin Sells Homes with spaces. Next, we'll be exploring appraisals and why they're important. See you then.